I don't know if some of you are familiar with the Japanese art of kintsugi, but this really inspired me. It's the art of mending broken ceramics using gold and to create something quite beautiful. It's very meaningful and philosophical. What if we could do something metaphorically like this as well and try and mend our fractured communities using gold? But the gold is actually the people within the communities that do this type of work with no pay, just completely out of the kindness of their heart. They do this work, like we just saw in Nisan Hashem, passion, motivation, devotion, to architect fantastic spaces for people to come together. What if we can harvest this good at a very, very hyperlocal level? What I realised is that I had a theory. Are there bits of gold within the community? Are there bits of fantastic initiatives that happen? Of course there are. And to me, this is the antidote to extremism. So for the past year and a half, I've been documenting fantastic things that have been going on in the community and seeing how they are doing all of this work but not actually being heard. They're not being supported. They don't have the capacity to amplify their voices. So this is my Facebook and my Instagram page where I've tried to document these fantastic initiatives. And what I'm trying to see is how can we publicise all of these good events. You can imagine there are so many of them, many aren't being heard, but what if they could be heard? What if we could pull them together and use this capacity, use this as a way forward? I also started an organisation trying to see if we can practically map all of this stuff. So not just talk about it. So we know this stuff's going on. How do we practically map all of it? So I started an exercise of trying to find, connect, and amplify voices of good. And from an Islamic perspective, I like to see these as voices of nur, meaning light. So we bring all of this light together to make a more powerful voice and do it practically. Because at the end of the day, extreme groups do everything very practically, very organised, they're meticulous. We need to do the same if we're going to try and beat this. So what does this look like? Is it again in my imagination? No, it's not. I found, connected and amplified within my own community in North London. So this is a group of Muslim organisations, Shia, Sunni, Ismaili, and various other groups who needed a voice. They were doing their own thing, but they weren't working together. So I had an idea of bringing them together. I formed the Barnet Islamic Forum, and they came together. Sunni, Shia, Ismaili all hanging out was quite a big deal, but there is a desire now for people to come together. And with this group, I proved that once I found them, I connected them and amplified their voices, they did some amazing work. So one of the things that they're doing right now is defining their own definition of Islamophobia. This is massive. So while the government are trying to decide on a definition, the Barnet Islamic Forum, which we formed, are defining their own definition, and the police and the council are going to adopt it. So I went to the school, the Islamic school there, and some heartwarming kind of examples came out of the session that I did. You can see here, I don't know if you can see, but the impact Islamophobia is having on these young kids. It's important to engage young people in the discussion of Islamophobia, because we know extremist groups use Islamophobia as a way to justify what they do. So we can get there first. It's much better. Another example was where a Somali community had their centre burnt down, and within that space there's a lot of tension. So again, I used my theory of find, connect and amplify. I found willing participants who wanted to challenge the situation, connected them together, and they made this amazing garden, for example. So what I've been doing is very little, just been doing the facilitation. So this garden was a derelict piece of land, and within a few months, we gathered willing participants to say, come on, let's try and do something positive, push the positive out there in your community. And before you know it, there were people singing, dancing, doing breathing exercises. There was a hotel, bug hotel, young, old, different, diverse people coming together because it was architected, because we did it purposefully. And this is how you bring dialogue and spaces for people to come together. They got in the newspaper. This is another way of amplifying the very, very good and the positive things that are happening in the community. So finally, at the end of the day, my background is I was radicalized on university campus when I was 18. I spent 10 years in a group called Hizb ut-Tahrir, and I spent the past 14 years challenging this. And I haven't just been, sitting there thinking of writing reports, although we've written lots of reports. How do we practically challenge extremism? I've been in a group for 10 years where I recruited people, so I know how they work, I know how they operate, and basically I'm just operating in the way that they are. And over the past 10 years or so, no, maybe 6 years, I've been working with and mentoring young girls out trying to join Daesh. Over 70 young girls that I've seen, and I've mentored and helped them away from that mentality. And I wanted to use all of that knowledge and information in a way that can make prevention better than cure. We have to start from the root. We have to start from the community. We have to offer an alternative to young people, otherwise we're failing them. So, if we don't use this type of methodology where we are talking about Islamophobia before the extremist groups do, we're talking about issues that are important to young Muslims in particular, then we are failing them. We have to be extremists at their own game, and the only way to do that is be on that level playing field and making sure that we're in the community, we're in the universities, wherever they are, we are there first and we're better. So I'm going to ask you to join Groundswell. It's a new organization. I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but it's a start. You can follow us on Twitter and all the social media places, and also start mapping your organizations. Do you know anyone that is not being celebrated for the fantastic work they're doing, the bridge building work that they're doing, the counter-extremism work they're doing? Map them onto Groundswell, and we'll see where it leads. So with devotion, we'll be able to reverse this situation. I know it. I know it, because I used to recruit for an extremist group. I know we can do the opposite. They number few, we number many. So no matter what your faith or your background or your beliefs, at the end of the day, we're one race, and we all know that. And we must start looking for our humanity. And it was a nice omen coming in that it said in large, colourful letters, humanity wins. Thank you.